Alright guys, TacticalRab here again today. I hope you're all doing well and enjoying your day so far. OpTic Texas have now made back-to-back grand finals at Major 3 and Major 4, but have fallen just shy in both of them. What's it going to take for OpTic to get to that next level and start to win events either at Toronto Major 5 or the World Championship in Vegas? Is it going to be another coach to bring into the team? Not Rabo returning, but something to give them an additional level of help when it comes to anti-stratting teams that Thieves were very proficient at when they played OpTic this tournament. Very much intrigued to hear your thoughts in the comment section below. Hit the like button if you enjoy. Subscribe if you're new as always. I would greatly appreciate it. Firstly from Kenny, this guy, I don't know what it is when he plays OpTic, but he always comes different in those particular series and even says that constant land cards would be beautiful. There was even some discussion a couple of days ago now that maybe online their performances have been somewhat better now because they now play more on Denver servers. They used to be stuck on some bad Texas servers, especially when you're based in LA. So I think they've managed to find a way to get slightly better online, but of course LAN is still where it counts. Clay also says because he thought maybe a couple of days would help him regain, but he's still been struggling. Thought a couple of days would help, but nope, still hurts like hell. Got no choice but to give it my all for this last stage, hoping we can turn it around and figure out a way to be more consistent than we have shown. Up 5-2 with a streak game 5 is pretty awful, still mind blown, but yeah, the more Clay relives it, the more frustrated he's going to be, but maybe the more fiery he's going to get to try and come back and make it happen. But it's got to be said, their schedule isn't looking good. If you guys haven't seen it already, they play OpTic their first match, then New York. Two teams are just, I mean, like 3 of these teams just came top 4, right, in OpTic, Subliners and FaZe. Rokkr and Surge, okay, didn't have the greatest placings, but still Rokkr were top 6 in the end, and Surge were top 8. So, I mean, yeah, no easy games for Vegas here. Yes, online at Vegas with Standy have been rather good, so maybe they'll even go 2-3 here, but 2-3 is going to be a bit of a stretch, I think, and they're going to need Rokkr to, again, fall off massively, and of course, beat them here, which is absolutely imperative if they actually want to make it through. Quick note on FaZe as well, because FaZe made top 3 again. I know that many people came into this weekend thinking, okay, maybe even a top 6 for FaZe was on the cards, and in fairness, they weren't far away from getting top 6, but they do have a bit too much ice in game 5 usually to allow that to happen, but they're just nowhere near good enough. Compared to Thieves and compared to OpTic and the respawns, they're just not on the same planet, to be honest, especially compared to OpTic, right? As I said yesterday, even when OpTic and FaZe were on the same level, or FaZe were slightly better, OpTic would still beat them, and now it's like not even close, right? As Slasher says, GG's got 3rd again, not where we need to be to win, back to the lab, and Slasher individually was maybe their best player of the weekend. You can look at aBeZy, certainly in the Search and Destroy that was the case, and okay, I don't exactly know what it is, FaZe versus OpTic, it might just be the mental block. Apparently Slasher also has a terrible record against Shotzzy, he's never beaten him ever, so maybe that's just an additional factor as to why OpTic versus FaZe is so dominant in their favour for the last couple of seasons, and even this and FormaL just put in the dagger in a little bit on Slasher, I guess, who replies to aBeZy's kind of tweet about being maybe slightly frustrated. We would have won everything together, just know that, he says. So pretty funny stuff. But I wanted to look here at the numbers quickly from the FaZe side, right? This is their numbers online, and these are their numbers at the major tournament, right? So we know Slasher had a really bad online stage. He talked about being unwell and stuff like this, and now he felt much better at the major and delivered their best KD of the events. And even you look at Simp, he had a 1.07 overall, good in the hardpoint, not so good in the control, and it was their control that suffered this weekend for the Atlanta FaZe. Their hardpoint was actually, I think, slightly better at 4 in 5, but their control, they were like 1 in 4, and that's not been a game mode that they've been bad in. I mean, they destroyed Surge on it the first game they played, and after that, they didn't win another control. So, you know, very interesting stuff. Simp isn't quite as consistent as it used to be. aBeZy is great in Search and Destroy, super impactful, but in some of the respawns and the controls is prone to some bad maps, and I think these numbers show that they still live and die on the tiny terrors, right? Because Cellium, it doesn't seem to matter with Cell. It's a bit interesting, it must be said. Okay, Slasher picked up the slack that Cell kind of let out, but when Cell drops a 1.25 or 1.3 or 1.1, does it make any difference to FaZe's performances? Like, it doesn't really seem to. They still look pretty much the same and place top 3 at the end of the day, and obviously Cellium had pretty much a 1 flat this tourney, so just shows to me it's not necessarily a slight on Cell, it's just like they rely so heavily on their SMGs, right? Simp and aBeZy. There's talk about comms, there's talk about do Slasher and Cell really work as an AR duo? I'm not so convinced still. So there's things for them to work on for sure. And right now they are a clear step behind where OpTic are and certainly where Thieves are. And, you know, it's going to be a tall order for them to win anything, I think, from now to the end of the year, which of course will raise big questions about their roster. Their top 3 placing is still absolutely outrageous. They have the highest percentages placings in the top 3 of any team or any players ever, right? Better than all the OpTic Dynasty, remarkable remarkably so. Simp is at 89%. It's just absolutely ridiculous. And aBeZy would be there without his stint in World War II when he was on Enigma 6, and it was a slightly different story. So obviously FaZe top 3, OpTic beat them to get top 2, but they did just about fall short in the end. As Shotzzy says, well played by Thieves, congrats to them. Thanks for the support. Major 5 up next. So they would of course prefer to win Major 5 than Major 4. There's a crowd there. They would of course prefer to win champs than either of those events, and that might well still happen, right? But they will need to find a way to get over the line. And I think there's some things they might need to think about here, especially against teams like Thieves, and FaZe they should be able to handle. So right now it seems like Toronto and Thieves, those are the two teams that in a grand final setting might give OpTic a good run. They did just that at Major 3, and Major 3 was a weird one, right? Because OpTic had to make that crazy losers run. By the time they got to the finals, I do think there's always an element of fatigue. I think in this case it's slightly less relevant. Yes, there was the possibility of them getting a bit tired towards the end of the finals, and I know that Dashy did look pretty, he'd been in a blender, right, for the entire day. But in fairness, they 3-0'd FaZe. That wasn't really, too much of a competitive series, right? So I think that OpTic were relatively fresh into the finals. Maybe against, Toronto, given the run that they'd made, it was expected they might fall off a little bit in their hardpoint gameplay. But here against Thieves, they got beaten in the hardpoint. Game 1 on Hydro, but I think it's the controls. And I said this in yesterday's video before the matches started, right? I was like, look, I'm not sure if Thieves are going to beat OpTic in a best of 5, which they did, but I said they've got a very good chance of doing so in a best of 7 because 2 controls in there, and look, I think it should be 3 hardpoints personally, but with 2 controls in a best of 7, Thieves were always going to win one, if not both of those, which they did, and they won the series 4-2. And it's just when it matters in those grand finals, when the pressure is really on, you've got an important round 5, do you deliver, do you crumble under the pressure? And that's where OpTic currently aren't quite at that level. You can't expect them to be. Ghosties there where IGL just come into the league in a massive pressure moment. Thieves, they won the World Championship. They should be favoured in those type of settings, but OpTic do need to unlock something to get to that next level, because we saw what Thieves looked like for the majority of last season. Pretty woeful, to be honest. Then Shane comes in the middle of the season, revitalizes their search and destroy, works alongside JCap, and really, I think JCap was a bit lost in the sauce for a while, to be honest, in terms of what to do from a coaching perspective. Shane took that to the next level. Even their general manager, Novas, he used to be the analyst 2 years ago in the Cold War season, so he's definitely looking at numbers as well. So they've got a great setup there at Thieves. Just like FaZe have with all the coaches they've got, Thieves are very well prepared. I think without Shane, I don't know if that team wins the World Championship last year. I think they almost certainly don't. And you've got to give a lot of credit to the coaching staff with Thieves behind the team, not just from a gameplay perspective, but also from like a mental coaching, teamwork, chemistry perspective as well, that has helped them be very good. And OpTic don't necessarily have that as it stands, right? I mean, obviously they've won plenty of championships, Los Angeles Thieves. They made 5 of the 9 or the last 9 grand finals. And JP Krez is obviously doing a phenomenal job for this team. There was a lot of pressure on his shoulders being the full-time coach, analyst, whatever for this OpTic team when the Rambo Dashy thing wasn't going to work out. Rambo stepped away. JP had to do everything on a full-time capacity, and he's obviously done a phenomenal job, keeping the guys in check, doing the stats as well, doing what the team needs of him, but it's difficult to do everything on your own, right? We even talked about it back in the Cold War days with Sender coming in to help those guys out, and whether having a couple of different coaches to do different roles might well be beneficial. They even had Tubuck Thuglord, right, working as an S&D analyst for them back in the Chicago Huntsman days in Modern Warfare. So just wanted to share this clip here from a few days ago now of when Hex is talking about Karma potentially coming in as their coach. Karma wants to do it. He's made that very clear. And Hex, this is last weekend now, says, look, Karma, if you really want to do it, you've got to promise me X, Y, Z that you'll be able to, and then we can actually get a contract to make this work. But it might make sense to some that just some extra preparatory work for these guys might be crucial in those moments.
Dude, I miss Damon. Can we get Damon on the watch party soon?
Good luck.
Good luck. That dude doesn't travel.
Dude,
Yeah,
why
good
when I
luck.
come downtown when I can watch from home?
Listen, so, hey, he's like, hey, I want to coach. And I'm like, all right, you're down, but there's a long laundry list of things that you need to do as a coach. And I need to have a commitment from both him, Holly, Bob, and Grandma. Even Bella's going to have to sign some. So I don't know if he wants to be. Man, I don't know, man. Coaching is 8 hours, 6 hours a day watching. I don't think so. This guy's gonna miss Tarkov. He's gonna miss. Does he still play that other one?
Which one?
The one where he's naked.
Rust?
Yeah, Rust.
Oh yeah. I don't know if he plays it anymore, but
It's like,
he loves that shit.
why go out of your way, Karma, to only wear tighty?
Well, say
Should we tell the story? Should we tell the story?
What's going
Look,
on?
Winners round 1. We play Minnesota, right? Slam.
Okay. We're about to play FaZe. We have been getting. When I say choke slammed in scrims, I mean like it's just a sea of red on like a Google Doc, right? Bro, we win winners round 1. We pull up into our hotel room. Cap's like, we gotta talk about hardpoint, bro. We're like in winners round 2 of the tournament. We're like feeling ourselves. It's like, you know, we just gotta be locked in. Shows us our scrims of just 0-9s, like just getting shit on.
Straight L's.
Straight L's.
And I'm like, bro, me and Sam are just like, what? Like, you're showing us this, like, we're in the winners
big
bracket. Like,
tournament right now,
why now? Why would you show this now? Well, it's a
good.
good thing he showed it to you because whatever he said or whatever you guys did, I mean, I don't want.
I think we saw it especially really in this particular map that was played a couple of times. This was in the earlier series they played, right? Thieves versus OpTic in the winners finals. When this is a map that OpTic are pretty good at. They've had their moments, but Thieves were so well prepared for OpTic on this map. It was very clear they had watched a lot of VOD and were hard countering hard. Now, look, when you've got Shane, you've got Jacob, you've got Novus there as well, there's a lot of resources that Thieves have to prepare in these situations. When JP is doing everything by himself, it does make it more difficult to get properly prepared. Like, there were times where Shotzzy was getting, like, triple naded, basically. They knew exactly where he was going to be. They knew exactly what OpTic were going to do, and that was really crucial to winning this map too. Now, in the end of the grand finals, it was a more competitive and fair, and it was the controls that probably won them the game in those crucial moments, but there were certainly some maps played, I think, yesterday where Thieves' better preparation and, you know, honestly, looking at what OpTic had done and prepared to counter it was working in their favor. And this is a point that Scump was making on stream last night as well in terms of strats and countering. LA Thieves were clearly very well prepared, whereas, you know, Scump made the point that OpTic were playing as they would against any other team, which maybe makes sense when you're frying everyone in scrims. But obviously, JP, don't get me wrong, he's doing a phenomenal job, and I don't think that Rambo should be coming back because obviously that would raise some questions about whether the Dashy situation is going to work and all this type of stuff. But having someone else in the room, I think, might be a valuable asset for these guys, especially in terms of trying to get them over the line, maybe even in the mental aspect as well. I shared that clip though as well of Octane talking about how Jacob had sat them down and said, look guys, even after you guys beat Minnesota, you're still getting slammed in scrims against a team like OpTic. You've got to turn up. We've still got things to work on. Just because you did well against Minnesota Rokkr doesn't mean we're at the level we need to be at yet. We've still got things to improve on. And look, Jacob's won 2 world championships, plenty of events. He's going to be able to help those guys get into a winning mindset when it comes down to a grand finals. JP doesn't have that kind of experience, but OpTic Karma, 3-time world champion, most certainly does. So even having him in the room, not even to talk about strats or counter-stratting or anything, but purely there to speak to the guys and, you know, get them fired up and in the right headspace going into a grand finals might well be a very valuable asset for the OpTic guys. So tweet your thoughts in the comments below. That's the first time OpTic have been second back-to-back since 2015. They hadn't made a back-to-back in fairness since 2017, but usually when they did, they would win one of them. This time they didn't. They lost to 2 better teams on the day, but as I talked about yesterday, this cutting edge that Thieves and championship winning teams have that OpTic don't quite have, but I can't, like, Karma certainly had, and Karma is there with OpTic ready to coach the team, so seems to make sense for me to bring another voice into the room, but definitely tweet your thoughts on that in the comment section below. Speaking of Karma, he has made it onto this list, of course, understandably, players that have won 9 or more championships in COD history. Krim, Scump, Karma, FormaL, XTP, Clayster, Merc as well, JP, big timer, of course, the original greatest of all time, Arcitys, Simp, aBeZy, and now Octane joins them on this list with 9 tournament wins. But very much enjoyed your thoughts on all this stuff in the comment section below. Hit the like button if you enjoyed, subscribe if you're new, take care, and I'll see you next time.